Valence electrons are important when we're talking about the reactivity of an element. So we need to know what valence electrons are and how to count how many valence electrons there are. Valence electrons are the electrons in the highest energy level of an atom. These are the electrons that are furthest from the nucleus, so the nucleus has less of a hold on them because they're so far from the nucleus. And therefore, they are the only electrons that are involved in bonding. We only count s electrons and p electrons in when we're counting valence electrons. We don't count d or f. Therefore, there is a maximum of a number of valence electrons you can have. The maximum is 8 because s orbitals can only hold 2 electrons and p orbitals can only hold 6. 2 plus 6 is 8. So you can never have more than 8 valence electrons, at least for the purposes of Chem 1. 8 valence electrons we call a full outer shell or a full octet. And having a full outer shell is very energetically stable for atoms, so they like to be stable. They like to have low energy. Therefore, this is why atoms bond, is to get a full outer shell, a full octet. Atoms want to have 8 electrons in their outer shell. If atoms already have 8 electrons in their outer shell, they are not reactive. They are not reactive. And there is a group of elements on the periodic table that has a full outer shell, and therefore they are very unreactive elements. There is an exception to this rule. Helium is considered to have a full outer shell when it only has 2 electrons. It's because helium is in energy level 1, and energy level 1 only has the s sublevel. There are no p electrons in energy level 1. Therefore, helium has a full outer shell with just 2 electrons. The opposite of valence electrons are core electrons. If it's not a valence electron, it's a core electron. These electrons are closer to the nucleus and therefore they are not involved in bonding. So let's use selenium as an example and we'll look at which electrons are valence and which electrons are core. So selenium has 34 electrons, and on a previous slide we looked at what its electron configuration was, and this was the electron configuration we came up with. Selenium has 34 electrons. This is its electron configuration. And we said that valence electrons are those electrons that are just in the highest energy level. The highest energy level is energy level 4. So the only electrons we count as valence electrons are these electrons in the 4s and the 4p sublevels. Selenium has 2 plus 4 equals 6 valence electrons. All of these other electrons are considered core electrons and they are not reactive. So we have 28 valence core electrons, unreactive electrons. Be sure you label those valence electrons and core electrons in your notes.